perceived traditionally? And in answer to this question, it was obvious that work is a necessity. I think many people, many of the groups said that work is a necessity. And it is, in fact, something to be appreciated. It is not a burden. It is something that we should appreciate. The Banso made a quote about this because, in fact, they said it's not only to be appreciated, but it is also beautiful. There is something aesthetic about work. And this is what they said. Now I quote exactly what they said, that the fawns' palaces and the homes of the rich, as well as the artistic works themselves, are all designed with this beauty in mind. But work is not only necessary, for the individual, it is also necessary for the community. And as a matter of fact, among many of the African communities, they organized work groups to make sure that community work was conducted properly. Because without that work for the community will not grow. So work was very important first to the individual, but then also, and even maybe more important, for the community. Society generally despises lazy people, people who are known not to work hard. And I noted that I suspect a lot of people here could have read a book from a famous African novelist by the name of 𝐤𝐦𝐚𝐢𝐥. The title of this book is Things Fall Apart. It is actually a textbook in most of African schools. Now, in this book, 𝐤𝐦𝐚𝐢𝐥 really captures, I think, the essence of the value of work. Because it comes out very clearly that the hard worker, the person who works hard, is respected, and that the lazy person is despised. The main character of that book is a man called Okonkwo. And Okonkwo is a man who is very hardworking. And everybody in the society respects him because he is very hardworking. And because he makes a substantial contribution to the society. So he is respected, he is honored, and he is given titles. Not just one, 2, 3, many titles. His father, on the other hand, Onoka, is a very, very lazy man. The biggest achievement he has ever made was playing the flute. He plays the flute wonderfully. But that's all he does, sitting under the tree and playing the flute all day. So he was a very lazy man. As a result, he could not feed his family. He could not pay his debts. And he dies a very poor man. Being poor is not a crime. But dying without a title is a big and unforgivable crime. This man died without a title. What that means in Nigeria, at least among the Igbos, is that the fellow is not recognized by anybody, that he has contributed nothing to the society. In fact, they say that he, even though he is a he is a woman. Now, that's a bit derogatory, I know. But among the Igbos, it means that the fellow has no respect at all. If they call a man a woman, that man is not worth anything. Now, this record, you might say that this record is only a novel. I want to tell you that it is not just a novel, it's not just a book. It is very well collaborated by the answers that we received, from Igbo land. This is what they said. Work is very highly valued as something very good. Good and hardworking persons are respected and given pride of place in the society. Such people boast about their abilities and are respected. Lazy people are usually despised. In marriage, one of the qualities to recommend people is the ability to work hard on both sides. Meaning, of course, whether you're a man or woman, you may not find a partner if you're not that hardworking, whichever way. The next thing that it does introduce, the concept of work, is also a question of competition, healthy competition. You know that competition can be good, but it can also be very bad. In the traditional society, competition was promoted, but in the good sense. The 𝐴, I remember now, the 𝐴, it must be something like that, is written with N, but is supposed to be something like 𝐴. They gave us this answer. 𝐴? Okay, that one. They said, when a man produces so many liters of oil, next time around, his neighbors will attempt to produce more to compete with him, or just to show him that they too can do better. The Bambili. I hope you recognize yourselves in some of these things we are saying. Good. The Bambili actually told us that work is necessary and that it is a kind of mutual aid. It is a mutual aid. It's not just one direction. And the Bangwa did emphasize that work is really something to take pride in. We have to be proud of our work. And this is what they said. Children who are well brought up take pride in work and are themselves a pride to the family. So they take pride in their work and the family takes pride in them. Now, we found one unusual, we may call it unusual, kind of understanding of what work is. Let me read it out, because they said that work is in fact a form of prayer. This is what they said. Traditionally, work is seen as a form of prayer. When one is busy, or she concentrates on whatever is to be done, this concentration in itself is some form of prayer, because it is always geared towards a purpose. At first, I was a little bit surprised. Work, a kind of prayer? But then as I reflected a little on that, I realized it may not really be as strange as it first sounds. Because even among people in Kenya, I have heard many times people say that God helps those who help themselves. And the meaning of that is simply that we have to do our part. And then we have to let God take over from there and complete the job. So that our doing our part, which actually means working, is really an invitation to God to intervene. Now, what is prayer? Isn't it just that? So what we are doing at this point is we are praying, but in action. And I don't think you should find that very strange, because the ideal, I think, also supports this kind of thing, that prayer is not just kneeling down. It's not just going to church and to mass. Prayer is also working. And this is what these people are telling us here. There is something there that connects very well. Rather surprisingly, no one thought that work was as an intrinsic value. In all the instances, work was valued because it produces something else. Let me explain that. When we talk about intrinsic value, we are saying that the thing is good in itself. Then we talk about instrumental value, meaning it is good because it is used to give us something else. This study seems to say that work is not necessarily intrinsically good, but work is good because it leads to other good things. And I want to say that one of the problems one of the points I immediately noted here is the fact that in the African mind, it is very difficult to bring in this notion of something that is good in itself, for no other reason other than that it is itself. Personally, I find that very difficult to understand. And so I'm not surprised that when people are told that God is good in himself, they say, but why is he good? What is the goodness of God? Why is he good? But if you tell them that God is good because he gives us rain, he gives us this, he does this, he loves us, we understand. But if you tell us that he's good in himself, we say, okay, that's all right, but I don't understand it. A somewhat different answer is proffered by Leopold Senghor, who sees work as a beautiful, joyful, and liberating exercise. Did you hear that? That's what he thinks. Let me tell you what he says. He says, the African, feeling himself in unison with the universe, makes work rhythmical, accompanying it with musical instruments. There are many thousands of work songs, songs which accomplish work by becoming free through work. It sounds to me that even if I didn't know what work was, that joy, the joy of just the sheer participation in it is something really good. So I found this particular definition, well, let me tell you, Senghor is not one of those who sent us the answers. But I just connected this with, he's one of those people that we know as African scholars. So he was kind of reinforcing what the answer that we got. But I think the important thing here is that work is not something that we should be doing with, brooding faces. It's not something that we should be doing, because we are being forced to do. It's not something that we should do because it is impossible to do anything else. You see? It is something we should do joyfully, cheerfully. That's what Senghor says, and I think Senghor is right.